Welcome or welcome back to the 8th concession. My name is Natalie. Well, it's a beautiful day here on the 8th concession. It's June, but today it's warm and sunny. The sky is blue, but it's not too hot. Now, I did hear that it's going to get much hotter next week, up to about 32 Celsius, which is about 90, but with the humidex, with the humidity, it's going to feel like 42, which is 107. That is not normal for Southern Ontario, but that is what it's going to feel like next week. Now, the good news is we are going to be putting our pool up. Because we're on conservation land, we can't put in an in-ground pool here, but we can have an above-ground pool. So we don't have a permanent one, we have a seasonal one. We didn't put it up last year because we had such a cold, wet summer, but with temperatures going up into the hundreds, we are definitely putting it up. Now, we do not use our own water. We do have a great well here on the 8th concession. However, to fill an entire pool, that would really put a strain on our pump and our well. So we will be bringing in water. So we always have to decide whether it's going to be worth it to put our pool up each year because we have to pay for the water. But we are putting it up. It's coming on Tuesday, and I'm going to be in the pool Tuesday afternoon, even though it's going to be cold, because Tuesday is when that heat wave starts rolling in. But seeing as it's such a beautiful day today, I thought this would be the perfect day for a garden tour. I can never get over how the season starts and it seems you're just putting plants in and all of a sudden the garden is in, full gear and everything's growing and it seems to go by so quickly. So we're going to take a moment today on such a nice sunny but cool day and check out everything around the 8th concession, and I'm going to bring you with me. Let's see how everything's doing. I'm going to start here in the orchard. You can see the trees are looking good. They're looking healthy. Some of the trees bloomed beautifully. A couple of the younger ones, not so much. This first one here is my peach tree. Yes, you can grow peaches in zone 5B. This is a variety called Reliant or Reliance. I'm going to have to look it up. But last year, if you watched my videos, I got a beautiful basket full of gorgeous peaches. And it looks like I will be getting a nice harvest of peaches again this year. My sweet cherry also had a lot of blooms. Now, we've never had a full crop off this tree yet. Now, they are a type of cherry. See if I can show you here. It's red and white, apparently. No, I haven't had them. I forget the variety. I'll look it up. But I think I will at least get some snacking ones this year. The apple trees are doing well. This is a Gala cross. I love Gala apples. It actually had 2 tiny blossoms this year, but I don't remember. They were on the far side. I don't think there'll be any apples from it. This tree I had to replace. I had a Mac cross called Macoon, but it didn't do very well. This is a straight Macintosh, which is the apple I prefer for baking because it's a little bit tart. And behind them both, this tall thing here is an apple tree that was obviously here when we moved in 5 years ago. I don't know what variety it is. We've tried them. They're actually good. Sometimes I dehydrate them for the chickens in the winter because they are a bit buggy or whatever. But it also did not have very many blooms this year, so it's not going to be a great apple year. The sour cherry had a lot of blooms, but it doesn't have a lot of sour cherries. So I don't know whether they didn't get pollinated very much. There are a few, you can sort of see in here. There are a few hanging around. And I don't see any cherry pies in my future this year. And the pear tree, while it's doing fine, it's a bit younger than these other trees, so it didn't have any blossoms at all. Going to have to wait another year. This is a red Bartlett, so I'm looking forward to it. Apparently it's supposed to be a little bit sweeter even than the yellow Bartletts. These are ever-bearing raspberries. So you can see I trimmed them back a little bit, but they are getting ready to give us some lovely berries. Look over here how many there are. And down here farther are the blackberries. They were covered in blooms, and now they are covered in berries. There's going to be a bumper crop of blackberries again this year. I'm going to have to start looking for blackberry recipes already. Now let's check out the vegetable garden. We'll start over here in bed number 4. So right at the front here are my 4 Tidy Treat cherry tomatoes. They look so healthy. In the corner there, I planted a few zinnia seeds. And over here is a marigold. Here are the sweet peas that I planted on my trellises. You can see they've climbed up and over them already, but they are ready to set flowers, I believe. The spinach I was supposed to have pulled already and reseeded with a bit of butter crunch lettuce, and I can see it's getting ready to bolt. So it has to come out. I might freeze some of the spinach leaves or have them in a bit of a salad. Back here are my Cup of Moldova plum tomatoes. So these are the ones that I use for sauce. And I really have to say, they are looking fantastic. This one here is even setting flowers already. So far, no sign of blight, but I really should get out here and try and get most of the leaves touching the ground off the ground. So that's a chore I need to get to. But they are just thriving. Back here are 2 zucchini. Now this one, I don't know whether that's powdery mildew or just the coloration of the leaves. I'm going to have to look up which variety this is. You can see it's already got some flowers going on now. I believe the first flowers on a zucchini or on squash plants are the male flowers, so it's not ready to set fruit yet, but it's getting close. And this one is another zucchini. One of these is the Romanesco, the striped ones. And one I think is yellow or golden. I have a feeling this is the yellow one, and that's the Romanesco. Back at the front of the bed here, you can see I have my, oh sorry, the deer flies are bad today. I have scarlet runner beans, which go up the front of my trellises. I don't really like them so much for the beans. I find the pods are a bit fuzzy, but they're great, first of all, for the look of them, and secondly, for pollinators. And on this side, here we have 2 of our loofahs. Now, we have had some up and down weather. It's been cold overnight a lot, so they had a bit of a temper tantrum, but I can see it's growing now. I think it's decided it's going to grow. This one too has got some new growth, so it's fine. Planted at the same time was this crazy birdhouse gourd. Now, those things don't care about anything. They go crazy. I used to have like 4. I'm down to 1 now because this is going to take over the trellis. It's already climbing. It's not having any trouble at all. And at the back of the trellis is a couple of plants of the Matt's wild cherry tomato that I've mentioned before that has a very vigorous upright growing habit. So I'm going to allow it to go up the back of the trellis this year because it was so blight resistant, and the cherry tomatoes themselves were quite sweet and delicious. So I've decided to give them another try and just let them do their thing up the trellis. sorry about the chickens. They see me here in the garden and they're like, where's our treat? I think I'm actually going to have to stop and go give them their treat. Let's see if I can show you. They're right over there watching me. Where's our treat? Don't they sound sad? Trust me, they're not hard done by. Girls, everybody back. Everybody back. There you go. There you go. Have lots of fun today, girls. So now that the ladies are taken care of and are quiet, let's get back to our garden tour. So here's bed number 3. You can see I still have the butter crunch lettuce here. I haven't harvested it yet, maybe for supper tonight. And that will give these Mountain Magic tomatoes a little more room. And then I'm going to reseed the lettuce over where the spinach hopefully will also be harvested. Here are some more scarlet runner beans right at the front of the trellis to go up. We have a cute little pink zinnia here. Here are 3 more loofahs. I did not put another birdhouse gourd on this side. Trust me, that one will come over and be plenty for both sides. But I can see that my little loofahs have decided that they're going to start growing. I see lots of new growth. They're looking great. Now, this is a problem I have mentioned that I have before, and that is I have a real hard time killing anything that decides to grow. So this little plant here, I think it is some type of cucumber. It was actually growing right here. I had cucumbers on this trellis last year, and I suspect one seeded itself. So I don't even actually know what this is, but I'm gonna let it grow and see. I suspect cucumber. Just gonna let it do its thing. Here is another Matt's wild cherry tomato on this side of the trellis. Actually, I think there's a couple of plants there because again, I couldn't kill any of them. And this bed has my silver fir slicing tomatoes. Now this is the first year I'm trying them. And I lost one here at the front. It just didn't survive, but what I have done is I have taken an offshoot of one of the big ones here at the back, and I am rooting it in some water, and I'm going to plant that there. I'm not sure everybody knows, but you can actually take what they call the suckers on tomatoes, that branch that grows not on the main stem, but off the main stem. Let me see if I can show you an example on this monstrosity back here. So maybe you can see, let me zoom in. Here is the main stem, and you've got this little offshoot growing out of the elbow of the two. That's called a sucker. I do not typically remove the suckers from my tomatoes. I figure nature knows better than I do. I do know some people say you get bigger tomatoes if you do that. And then other people say, but if you don't do that, you might get smaller ones, but you get more of them. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of another. So I leave them. But I did remove one so that I can actually grow another plant and plant it in that trellis that's empty there. And, oh boy, another example of my inherent problem. These tomato plants actually seeded themselves over in the 5th garden bed where I had tomatoes last year. Now I had Peron Sprayless, I had Cup of Moldova, I had Mountain Magic, and Tidy Treat. These were at the back where the Peron Sprayless were, and although I don't know whether they were cross-pollinated, I threw a lot of them away. Honestly, I threw a lot of the little tomatoes that had sprouted back there away. But I had this little space back here. So these might be Peron Sprayless. They suffered from blight so badly last year, but I couldn't help myself. I'm actually just going to pick up a couple of inexpensive wire cages at the dollar store for these two back here. They will need some support. But don't they look healthy? Don't they look great? But this is a good place to actually see the difference between these tomatoes and the silver fir. You can see the silver fir has these really narrow cut leaves, and other tomato plants like this Peron Sprayless have the fatter leaves. So I'm going to be interested to see how they do. Are they as really as resistant to blight as they're supposed to be, and how the tomatoes taste. So we're just going to say that these Peron Sprayless are our control group. So along here, this is where I planted my garlic last fall. You can see it's looking great. Nice, big, thick stalks. There is one row of onions in front of them because I ran out of space when I planted my onions. So that bed is doing great. Bed number 2. This I planted with beets, and you can see they've come up just great. I'm going to have a great crop of beets. I put them all up here, and then I had extra seeds, so I kind of went around the bed. You can see there are beets all the way around. And the rest of the bed I filled in with my peppers. So the peppers, they're growing. They're not dead. I see new growth on them. But these cool nights have not been their friend. You can actually see, on that one right there, looks like a little bit of frost damage on the leaf there. So they have not been that happy. Now that this heat is supposed to come this week, I think you'll see the peppers take off. You might notice that this one is a lot bigger. This has illustrated to me a problem I might have with growing my vegetables indoors. Now, I have no problem with the cups that I use or anything like that, but I think I have not been paying enough attention to my soil. This particular pepper was actually grown in a bigger cup with different soil, and it's twice the size of the rest of them. So next year, I'm going to pay more attention to the soil I'm growing my seedlings in. The soil in these gardens is fantastic. They're going to take off. They're going to be great. But if I want to give them a good start, I think I need to do better soil. So here are all the peppers. Here is the royal black pepper. You can see that even the leaves are a little bit tinged with black. That one right there is also supposed to be royal black, but it does not look like a royal black to me because the leaves are not black. That's going to be a mystery pepper. At the front, we have a few marigolds for pest control and for beauty. We have some zinnias. This is the funnel that I use to fill my oyas. You can see the white tube sticking up. Scarlet runner beans again. And on this trellis, I have my cucumbers this year. So I think, I don't even remember how many and which variety, but I have a couple of different pickling cucumbers and a couple of the Market More slicing. They worried me. Look at that stem. It looked like something got to it. However, it is growing. Actually, looks like there's even some blossoms there. It's still alive and it's growing. I think this one too had a problem on its stem. Look at that. Now, I don't know if that's frost damage or insect damage. However, it has not killed the plant. It is growing. It'll start climbing soon. So we'll just take that for what it is. And right along the edge here, you might remember in the spring I planted some extra leeks that I ran out of room for. So they're doing fine. Aren't these pretty? These were perennial. They came back again. I think they're a variety of dianthus or pinks. I just love color in the garden. And beside it I have the parsley that's self-seeded. So I can cut and dry that this year. And then the forest of dill. The forest of dill that I did not plant, it also seeded itself. So I've got lots of dill. The problem is I do not have lots of cucumbers yet. My plants are still really small. So what I've done is, you might notice some of these are empty where there used to be cabbages. I'm going to talk about my cabbages in a moment. But I did find some dill seed and I've actually just sprinkled some there, so I'll have newer dill seed that hopefully will be at this stage when my cucumbers are ready to be pickled. So the cabbage. Something was eating my cabbage. It was not insects because I've had them covered from the beginning. I do think it was a chipmunk or a vole or mice or something in the garden. You can see I've tried to tuck the netting in around the remaining ones. This is what they were doing. They just eating it. They were just having a nice snack. It was like a cabbage buffet. So I'm trying to hang on to these last three. Actually, I think there's four. I think that's a 1, 2, 3, 4. One of those was already starting to be eaten, but hopefully if I can keep the netting tucked in around it, maybe they'll have found something else to eat in the meantime. Here are more leeks. The leeks are doing great. They're already a nice size. And then if you remember the onions when I planted them, the onions I started from seed, they sure didn't look good. They were so tiny. Have a look at them now. Aren't they great? They are looking so big and healthy. I can't believe it's the same onions. Really, plants just want to grow. So the onions are looking fantastic. Now you might notice in here what that little thing is. That is actually a watermelon. I started it from seed. It grew into this tiny little plant, which of course I couldn't kill. So I thought I'll plant it among the onions. By the time it gets big and viney and taking over, the onions will probably be ready to come out. And then because I thought that was such a great idea, I actually threw in some midget melon. They're like a small cantaloupe, seeds that I had bought. And I don't think the seedlings did well, but I stuck them in around and I just thought I saw one. Where did I see one growing? I don't know whether that's one or a weed. Oh, there's one actually over there I can see. And I thought, oh, there's another one. Another one in there. So, oh, and here's another one. Right here. So it's sort of an onion / melon bed. And again, a few zinnia seeds in the corner just for some color. Bring in the pollinators. Marigolds to help repel some pests. And just for a little beauty in the garden. And on this side, there's just more leeks beside the cabbages. And the last bed here, bed number 5, is looking great actually. Here are some more pinks that just survived over the winter. And in the front here I have 3 pumpkin plants. One of them is polar bear that has white pumpkins. The other ones are early giant. I can't remember which are which. We'll find out when they start setting pumpkins. And behind them are my kidney beans, Montcalm kidney beans. A couple of them were munched on, probably the rabbits, who nibble holes in my fencing and get in. But I think the others are big enough now that they're going to be just fine. Little friend in the garden. So behind the kidney beans, these are the Polish white pea beans that I use for baked beans. And they're going to climb up my little trellises here. And they seem to have come up fine. Oh, there's one missing there. I might take one from over there. There's a lot coming up there. And back here we have 3 more pumpkin plants. Again, I think these are all early giant for our family pumpkin carving contest. And back here I had some more zucchini that kind of was left over. I don't remember which varieties. There might be another Romanesco and probably a yellow or golden, maybe a green. We'll find out. You'll find out with me. Oh, look, that pumpkin is already flowering. In front of my gardens, but I'm filming from inside the garden, these are my 2 blueberry bushes. Now, I do notice that they are a little bit red on the tips. I've added some peat moss. I actually have some acidifier that a friend gave me that I should add again, just to make sure that that soil is correct. But despite the soil, you should see, look at all the blueberries. Look at all the blueberries growing on this. Not enough for a pie, but definitely enough for some snacking. And we can't forget our potatoes back here. Now, unfortunately, the weeds are growing up quite high. That one right there is actually jewelweed, which I really like. But I'll get Craig back here with the whippersnipper just to keep it down, keep the weeds down around the back. But look at the potatoes themselves in the bags. They're doing fantastic. All of them. So I think there will be a good potato crop again this year. I'm really happy with them growing in the bags. I wonder if because they're above ground and they dry out in between, there's less chance of the potatoes rotting or something. I don't know. But here in Zone 5B, they seem very happy to be growing in these fiber pots. So there you go, the garden in June. It's looking really good so far. Oh, there was a few misses, but mostly hits. I'm very excited to think about eating all that fresh produce and preserving all my garden and having some of those berries. I see a lot of nice baking in my future. I hope your garden is coming along well. Bye for now.